It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you are listening to America's automotive radio show, Test Miles. Locally created, nationally celebrated. The team includes misfits, rapscallions, and ne'er-do-wells. This morning, Genya, the intern, Sean Walker, our producer, Old Man Brad, and Oli, the Volvo Viking seller, or the Viking Volvo seller, maybe. This is interesting because we're all together. It's been a long time since everybody's been in the studio.
It has.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that.
It's been longer than that. It's almost January.
Where did Oli go? He was here at the beginning of the show.
He went to the bathroom.
He did? Oli always has rough Sunday mornings. He lives hard and he plays hard too. All right, let's talk about what we've been driving this week. I have been in the Chevrolet Colorado, small pickup truck. They call it a midsize, but Toyota Tacoma, there's only about 2 or 3 available out there. Maybe a new one coming from Hyundai. They're talking about the Santa Cruz truck coming soon. This has a very classy interior, comfortable ride quality. It's kind of available with different tech packages. Some of the bad things about this truck I found were some full-size trucks are just more fuel efficient, especially the the Ram Eco Diesel gets better miles per gallon. There are a low-hanging frontal. The air dam is potentially has some issues with it for off-roading, can get caught on rocks, so a low ingress or egress for the front of the truck. Departure and exit angles if you're doing a little bit of rough terrain driving with it. It does have several engine choices, a 2.5-liter inline, a 3.6-liter V6, and a couple of other sort of variations on things you can do with those engines. 200 horsepower, 305, depending on the 4-cylinder or the 6-cylinder. 6-speed auto, 6-speed manual. It has a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Kind of like the all-wheel drive, much better than the rear-wheel drive. 22 miles a gallon combined for the 4-cylinder and a 21 miles a gallon combined for the 6-cylinder. So its competitions are that Toyota Tacoma and the Nissan Frontier. There is several trim levels, the base, the LT, the WT, and the ZL1. The price is $20,120 starting. However, that's for the very, very most basic vehicle with a manual. They only make one kind. If you start making changes to that vehicle, you'll get to mid-20s and 30s with just a couple of small changes. So can you get the 4-wheel drive in the manual? I don't know that. I'd have to go check that. I don't think you can, but I'll check. And the other vehicle I've been driving this week is the Mitsubishi Lancer. This is the end of the Lancer line for Mitsubishi. A 4-door compact sedan. You know, there's nothing wrong with this car. It is very, very base. It has a strong engine in the upper trim levels. In the lower trim levels, kind of weak and gutless. Confident handling for this vehicle. There are very sporty drives in these Lancers. Power sapping transmission is one of the bad things. A noisy base engine. Does have very basic interior and no telescoping steering wheel. It also comes in a couple of engine choices, the 2-liter 4-cylinder and the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder, and then there's the inline 4 as well. Talking about horsepower, anything from 148 up to 237. Of course, the Evo is going away, which means that we're expecting something to replace this current Lancer very soon. CVT transmission or a 5-speed manual, definitely prefer the 5-speed manual. And their all-wheel drive system is absolutely fantastic from Mitsubishi. Do love that a lot. I will tell you, miles per gallon is not too bad. You can get up to 34 on the highway. Its competition is just about everything in the world. You'll find the Honda Civic, the Nissan Sentra, Ford Focus, Chevy Cruze, Dodge Dart, Toyota Corolla, Mazda 3, Subaru Impreza. 5 trim levels and starting price of $17,000.
Did this have the body cladding on it?
No.
Because I think that makes this car substantially more attractive.
It does. I don't know why they didn't do the body cladding just as standard with the vehicle. Mm-hmm. Get the body cladding and leave it on every trim level. All right. What have you been driving, Sean?
I've been driving the 2015 Honda Accord Sport.
Okay.
Honda, the Accord's their flagship sedan for Honda. The Sport's basically their entry level. There is one trim level below it, which is the LX. Some of the good is that it's the Sport comes in a manual. The only option, basically the only two cars that come with it is the Sport and the LX that come with a manual. Any other Accords you cannot get in a manual transmission. So it's kind of fun to actually drive. I like a sedan that has a manual transmission. Kind of gives it that European feel to it.
All right.
Bad is you can't get the V6 model in it. It only comes with the 4-cylinder. It has a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder VTEC engine, 185 horsepower, gets 24-35, and I've been averaging 27 miles to the gallon in it. The interior is pretty nice, and it's base cloth and everything, but it looks really nice inside. Its competition is almost everything. This is a strong competition, but some of the strong competitors are the Camry, Altima, Sonata, Optima, and Fusion. It comes in multiple trim levels. Like I said, the LX, Sport, EX, EXL, EXL V6, and a touring model. Driving it, it's really easy to shift. I love Honda's transmissions in their manual transmissions. So just the shift points are great. It's easy to find which gear you're getting into. The starting price on this is $24,655. My 2 ups and 1 down would be that you're getting an Accord and a mid-size sedan for under $23,000. It's fun to drive, and my bad is just that you can't get the Sport model in a V6.
Okay. And starting price was?
Oh, excuse me, $24,650.
Excellent. Bradley, what have you been driving this week?
I got a chance to get into a 2016 vehicle. It's the Acura ILX. Now, the price is tested was $35,810. That came with the Tech Plus package, which included the premium auto and the Acura Watch safety lane diversions and all that good stuff that you've got, which I needed from time to time.
Don't hurt yourself.
Yes.
Package.
Now, this is in the compact luxury segment, which is hugely competitive. And Acura did do some nice upgrades from 2015, which the ILX was a little lackluster. And it had the 2.0-liter engine last year. Standard now is the 2.4-liter with 201 horsepower. Nice gas mileage at 25 and 36. The vehicle drives beautifully. It says what you would expect from a Honda product. And funny to hear Sean talk about the multiple trim levels. This one also comes with 6 different trim levels on it. And it suffers a bit from, I think, Acura's image. I think you can get a very nicely appointed Honda and be at about the same price point as this Acura with less technology on it. And I don't know if Acura's really demonstrated that panache, maybe an Audi or BMW has done. I think it really suffers with that. With that, it's really nice, but the interior still is lacking for some of the creature comforts that I really liked, and the Audi A3 was, to me, a superior vehicle with this. But this has a little bit more room in it. Again, we were walking outside and saw an Infiniti, and I think it suffers a little bit from that same image problem. It just doesn't, it's not distinctive.
They've had some very, let's say, lackluster years, but the good changes to the ILX.
Absolutely.
Good changes. Yeah. Jenny, have you been driving anything in your video game this week?
I have. I've been driving the new Dodge Charger RT.
And how is that working for you?
It's working well. I love this car so much. I wanted to drive it all day yesterday. I love the interior. This is in the video game. Yes, it is.
Oh, I was going to ask him how much it cost to fill up. 3 credits or something.
Right.
But this is an absolutely great car. I love the look. It looks so sexy. And I love the way it drives. I love the steering. I love the handling. I love the V8.
And video game again is?
Forza Horizon 2.
Forza Horizon 2, where you can drive all of Genu's favorite cars. All right, coming up on Test Miles, we're going to talk about how to get your car ready for the summer. It's spring already, and you need to do a little work on your car. Plus, we'll be finding out what's going to be released at the New York International Auto Show. Still to come, I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Welcome back to Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL, Portland's automotive radio show, live from our studios in downtown Portland. For all the latest automotive news, follow us on Twitter at Test Miles.
Hey, Nick, here's a fun fact you can impress your friends with. After Fiat rejected Enzo Ferrari's application for employment, he went to work for Alfa Romeo. He then raced for them for 10 years before starting his own somewhat successful racing team.
Seems to have worked out well for him. Well, we can't all rush out and buy new cars. We often have to maintain the ones we have, and keep them in good condition. And with spring and summer roll around, we have to get those vehicles out and ready for a change in season. So our automotive mechanical expert is here from Certified Automotive Repair in Salem, Brian Sosha. Brian, what are the sort of things that we need to take care of on these cars right now for spring?
Well, one thing to remember is if you got studded snow tires mounted early in the season, you need to get those removed before April 1st.
All right. So we have a couple days to get the snow tires off, the studded snow tires. But regular snow tires, although they're not recommended for summer driving, you can keep them on the whole year. It's just the studs, right?
Just the studs, yeah.
All right. What else are we looking at and taking care of those cars? Because I know you just pulled one of your vehicles out of storage, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It's been sitting for about 6 months, actually a tow vehicle. It's always a good idea to get them out and about, run them, just to work out the bugs. You know, you always want to check tire pressures. Obviously, that's a contributor to poor gas mileage. Belts, hoses, checking all your fluids, your battery.
Now, if you're not a mechanical person like me, whereas, I can just about find the latch for the hood, but that works about. I could probably tell you if the washer fluid's out, usually because I get a little light on the inside. But
right.
So is this the sort of thing that Certified Automotive Repair that you will do, or any garage will do for somebody?
We actually do this with all our oil changes. So we do a complimentary vehicle inspection. We check all the fluids, belts, hoses, tire pressure. We do it all, and we typically charge for conventional oil change right around $24.95.
All right, well, that's incredible. Yep. So you get all that thrown in for one price.
Yes.
Let's talk about windshield wipers. When is the best season to replace those? Is it now, or is it coming into the fall?
Well, I always tell people, that's one thing that we're coming into the fall, because you're, fall and then winter. You
right.
want to get those before the rainy season.
Is it twice a year? So, because what if we've had a rough winter? My windshield wipers may need replacing now, right?
Probably depends on the quality of the wiper blade that you put on.
Knowing me, they probably need to replace 4 times a year or whatever. No, we're done with worrying about antifreeze or not?
No, it's always a good idea to check. And we always check the condition of it, like I said, with every oil change. And if you're doing your regular maintenance, 3 to 3,500 miles, you're at a qualified shop, you're always going to get that checked anyways.
So if I'm worried about things like my brakes, how am I going to tell if they need some attention?
Again, with our oil changes and we do a full-on inspection with that. We do a visual inspection of your brakes, and so we can tell usually if the pads are within good tolerance. And then also we take them just down the street. We usually take them on a real quick test drive around the block, and you can tell at that point if it has any pulsation or if you hear any noises, whatnot. So
it's often good to have somebody else drive the car too, to check the brakes, because something you may have got used to and just think is your car is built up over time. When someone says, "No, it shouldn't be doing that."
That's correct.
That's a good idea. Go on, Brad.
I was just going to say, not all shops are as reputable as Brian's, so you need to go to a certified shop whenever possible. Check with friends. Yelp reviews are okay, but it's important to find a good shop that doesn't tell you you've got 10% brake pads left when, in fact, you had them done last week or something.
Is that true, Brian?
That's very true. Yep, very
of course
true.
It's true. Taking it to Brian.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that you have been doing this service day, the family service day, and you have another one coming up very soon. Our association with Certified Automotive Repair in Salem has been long, over around a year or so. These guys helped us with our Project Discovery this year, which, by the way, was a big hit. Sean almost got thrown out of the convention center for firing tennis balls from the air gun at the security guards. They didn't like that very much. Is that true, Sean?
Yeah, but it was fun. I mean, I've been kicked out of better places, so.
So let's talk about your Family Service Day. This is something you do several times a year. What is it, and how can people be involved?
Family Service Day for us has been, this will be our third one, and it's something that we partner up with a nonprofit group, and our partner is Habitat for Humanity. So we do try to get our schedule filled up with guests from Habitat. Usually the last week or two, if our schedule is looking a little thin, then we reach out to the community at that point, and then we can start taking on some other people.
All right. So basically on Family Service Day, you show up on this specific day, and the next one is
May 2nd, Saturday, and it's actually going to be geared towards Mother's Day, since the weekend after the 2nd is Mother's Day.
All right. So if you can't afford to have your car serviced, what are you doing when these cars come in?
Typically just oil changes and real basic services, because each guest is allotted 1 hour.
Right.
And so we're checking all the fluids. Again, we're doing a full-on vehicle inspection. In some cases, we're putting pads on and turning rotors. If we can get the work done in that amount of time, then but we are obligated to service sometimes 4 to 5 guests per hour.
Right. So people bring their cars in, and if they can't afford to have it serviced elsewhere, you take care of that on this one occasion for them, and you'll do the basic checks and the oil change, right?
That's correct. And like I said, sometimes a little bit more if we can get it done in a lot of time, and this is free to all our guests.
All right. So if you cannot afford to have your car, or you know somebody that can't afford to have their car serviced, and you are in the Salem area, or you don't mind driving to the Salem area to take care of that, how do they get in touch with you at Certified Automotive Repair?
Well, as I said, usually the last couple of weeks or so, we reach out to the general public, but we are obligated to work on the guests of the Habitat group.
First.
And that's our nonprofit group that we're partnered with. And then after that, we can fill up our schedule.
Watch this space. We'll announce when you can sign up for that.
Right. You got the last couple weeks prior to the 2nd. So probably mid-April.
And in the meantime, people should probably become a customer of yours, at least to get that car out of the winter blues and into the summer sun, ready to go. How do we get in touch with you at your shop?
It's our phone number is 503-399-2149, and you can find us at www.carsalem.com. And if you ever have any questions, just ask for Brian or Ben. Ben is the service manager.
And you guys can just basically fill anybody in. Even over the phone, you can answer a lot of questions, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Certified Automotive Repair, great supporters of Test Miles. We support them. Thank you for being here, Brian. Coming up on the show, New York Auto Show just around the corner. We're going to find out what cars are going to be released. Boy, there's a huge list this year. And when you look down it, some surprises in there, too. Jeff Zerschmied from the Oregonian and John Vincent from the Tribune are going to be here to talk about new cars we'll see in New York. That's when Test Miles returns. I'm Nick Miles.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland for Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show, and we'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, visit our Facebook page at Test Miles ENT.
Nick, here's a fun fact you can impress your friends with. At one point, you could order a Shelby Cobra with an automatic. I don't know why you would, but 16 people did.
We were discussing whether that would be good or bad, or whether you should own one right now. I would suspect that there's not that many still in existence, so it was probably a good thing, a bad thing. I don't know. I don't know. Very difficult. Debate. We don't have that much time. All right. The New York International Auto Show, April 1st and 2nd, opens to the media, where lots of cars will be introduced for the first time. Unveiling those cars will be automakers from all over the world. The list is ever growing, and there will be some surprises in there. Joining us on Test Miles this morning is Jeff Zerschmied from the Oregonian and John Vincent from the Portland Tribune to talk about what cars we can expect to see in the coming week or so. Gentlemen, what's on your list?
Well, this is going to be a huge year for Toyota at the New York Auto Show. 2 vehicles from the Scion brand, one new hybrid from Toyota, the new RAV4 hybrid. And for Lexus, a vehicle that represents a third of their sales, the new RX is coming out in New York.
Now, the RX has been a staple for them. Do you see it changing radically in exterior and in technology?
I see it getting a little edgier on the exterior, kind of following the latest Lexus lines.
Spindle grille, that sort of thing?
Spindle grille, but probably not as aggressive as the NX. They're going to keep the RX on more of the luxury side.
Jeff?
You know, John said luxury, and that's really what this show is all about for me. I'm seeing Cadillac coming with the CT6. Lincoln is going to show a concept that's an advanced look at their next
MKS,
sedan, the replacement for the MKS, which desperately needs one. The Lexus RX, as John mentioned, the Jaguar XF is coming, and it's now an all-aluminum car. And Mercedes-Benz is going to have the GLE.
So I noticed the Jaguar already released pictures of their XF. They had it go across a high wire in London last week.
Yep.
It still maintains a lot of the XF look, but doesn't. It looks fresher. But I'm concerned about their vehicles have become somewhat muted in their styling.
Well, they have. You know, they're all of these cars are now designed in a wind tunnel, so there's a lot of sameness going on. But you know, inside you're still going to get the Jag interiors, and you're going to get the Jag performance.
Sedans is one thing I notice as being a lot of vehicles being part of what happens. The Maxima, we've actually seen the CT6 and the Maxima, just still images of them in the Super Bowl commercial. There was minute showings of the car, just a fraction of a second of both of those vehicles. I think the Maxima, which I now have a picture of, looks very much like the Mazda 6.
It does. It does. Kia is also going to have the new Optima there.
Right.
That's going to be very exciting. That's a big seller for them. And you're right. There are a lot of sedans on the list.
John and I talked about this, or we all had coffee before the show, and we were saying that the renderings of the Optima look really great.
They
right?
look fantastic.
But some of the pictures we've received of the actual car, which may or may not be what the car looks like when it comes out, don't look as great as the renderings.
It definitely looks evolutionary rather than revolutionary for the Optima.
One big car I've earmarked as something that's going to change a lot for the brand is going to be this new Mitsubishi Outlander. Now, the concepts that they've had 3 or 4 concepts between the last actual vehicle release, which was the Mirage, and this. The company outsold Volvo by 21,000 vehicles last year, so they're clearly on an upride. And the technology that we've seen in the concepts, do you think it's going to make it through to the actual vehicle? Things like this table on the inside where you put your cell phone down and it shares the information with everyone in the rest of the car?
You know, I think that's still a ways away, but it would be sure nice to see them catch up with everybody else's technology in the next generation.
So what are we expecting? Because they had forward crash mitigation before a lot of people did in these vehicles, but the biggest problem I find is the build quality with Mitsubishi. And a lot of people consider them because they're great on the price, but you get what you pay for, right?
Correct. There's been a lot of really, really good interiors come out in the last few years across the board, and Mitsubishi just has not kept up. You know, interior materials would be a huge advance for them if they were able to catch up.
I think they know that, and I think they've been working on that. Let's talk about small cars, a new Chevy Spark. Now, this is a vehicle that's already available in other countries and makes up a huge amount of their sales, right?
It does.
Yeah, it's a world car for GM. The Spark platform, and so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, because it's a big segment.
I think that that car looks so revolutionary as it is. I'm not sure where you go with that.
I think they can modernize it. It's been out for a few years now, and a lot of the newer safety systems have kind of gotten democratized into lower and lower segments, and I think the new Spark will pick up some of that.
And let's talk about those Scions. Little concerned that Scion has not been doing as well as a brand as Toyota have. This sort of XY generation, the millennials, they made these cars to pull people into Toyota, but they don't seem to be doing as good a job as they'd hoped. Scion as a brand hasn't taken over as much as it should.
Apart from the XB, you know, do you see many Scions on the road? You really don't, except for maybe the new FRS sports car. But, the XB was really their success story. And so I'm interested to see what they've done with the IM and the IA.
Let's talk about a couple of other cars. This is going to be a make or break for the Chevy Malibu.
Absolutely.
Not the best styling, but its bigger brother, the Impala, kicked it out of the park. Really nice car, really great styling. The Malibu just has never seemed to gain any ground.
Especially here on the West Coast. In the Midwest, the car does very well, but it just hasn't ever done anything here. The last generation, they did a quick refresh of it because it didn't come out of the gate very quickly. And they're pinning a lot of hopes on this one.
Two more cars, going to be the concept new Beetle. This is going to be interesting. They manned up the Beetle last time around. What is going to be the story for 2016?
Not sure where you take that. Redesigning a retro-inspired car is very difficult. Just ask Chrysler what they did with the PT Cruiser. They couldn't figure out a ramp forward with that.
Can I bring up one that we haven't talked about?
Yeah.
The Aston Martin Vulcan is coming.
Interesting.
7-liter V12 engine, 800-plus horsepower right off the showroom floor, and track only, folks, not even street legal.
Yeah, this is sort of a car that I'm not going to have in my garage, by the way. Who's going to buy that car?
Very rich guys who enjoy going to their garage at the club racetrack and driving on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think the whole point of owning something like a Bentley, a Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin is to be able to show it off. And it seems sad that you'll only be able to do that with people that go to the racetrack with you. Kind of an interesting idea. All right, one last car let's talk about before we go to break. The Hyundai Tucson, a company that could do with a little injection of love and sales.
Yes, the Tucson has gotten tired, and it's time for a new one. And it's coming into a segment that is extremely hot right now. So it'll be great to see what they come out with.
And Hyundai does a great job anyway, so, we have high hopes.
They didn't seem to do too well with the last Sonata. Kind of fell on its face. So let's hope that they do a lot better. Think radical styling, or are they going to mute it down?
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
Agreed.
All right, Jeff Zoschmied and John Vincent. Thank you very much, Jeff from the Oregonian, John from the Portland Tribune. Stick around. We're going to talk about some of the biggest news stories in the auto industry this week. You're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
We'd like to keep you informed all week long. Being informed all week long means following us on Twitter. I'm Nick Miles. This is Test Miles.
I have a fun fact to impress your friends with. Every Audi R8 is ran through an X-ray check for production to make sure that there's no flaws in it.
I think we should all be run through by X-ray checks, by the way, to make sure there's no flaws in ours as well. Because I definitely have.
None of us would pass.
All right. This is the part of the show we like to share a few stories of the week. Our team get to tell us what they think the big and best news stories is. I'll start off this week. Notice an interesting story from Ford about European technology they're introducing into cars, where it's a front-facing camera that recognizes street signs, and the car is programmed to be able to respond to those signs. So you go past 50-mile-an-hour sign, you're traveling at 60, car will slow down to 50. Is this an infringement of our rights, and will it ever come to America?
Yes, and I would never buy it. I would stop buying Fords if that was the case.
I mean, I don't know if it's good for kids, right?
So will it ultimately do the Google thing? Will read where you shop, and then it'll pull you over at the Wendy's or something like that?
I think there's probably a lot of interesting information that they're not telling us about what this car does. Or John brought up something interesting in the pre-show, talking about the new Chevy Malibu going to have some technology in it which does similar things.
It has a teen driving function that actually watches for interventions of the safety equipment and reports on them. And Chevy's touting it as a teen driver thing, but I'm thinking fleets are going to be big into that.
Right, so this is if the ABS went off and the front collision warning went off, then somebody back home is going to get a warning. Hey, by the way, the anti-collision warning has gone off 4 times in the last hour.
Exactly.
All right, good, interesting things. Sean, what's your story?
Mercedes is going to be producing a mid-sized truck. They're saying it's not coming to the States just yet, but as me and John were saying, it most likely will in the next 5 years.
2020 is the year that it's supposed to come to the States.
Yeah, and I just say why. I mean, Lincoln tried to make a full-size truck, and obviously this is going to be a mid-sized truck.
Well, I can answer on behalf of Mercedes for you why is because people like Ram are now being requested from their owners to up the trim levels. That's why they're bringing lots and lots of more expensive trucks. People want trucks, but they want much more expensive trim levels.
And I understand that, but you're talking a Mercedes, $80,000 mid-sized truck?
No, I think you'll probably see it in the 50s, and they'll base it off something like
and they're gonna,
GLK.
And they're going to start a class, what they call it, rough luxury.
Rough
luxury. Doesn't that sound nice?
I mean, I get it.
It's kind of naughty.
Like, John and I were even talking about it, but people will buy this car, but it's just... Why?
Well, it's not for rednecks, clearly.
There are a lot of luxury car buyers out there that Chevy, GMC, Ram, they're not a luxury enough brand for them, so they're looking for a luxury truck.
Can anyone say Lincoln Blackwood?
No, there's been a few cars. Yeah, a few cars that didn't make it. Brad, what's your story?
Interesting thing, the millennials shop online and for everything from TV sets to car service, and a lot of the box stores are going away. But Edmunds did a recent study, found out that 64% of millennials actually prefer face-to-face in dealership contact when buying a car. And 80% of them do use their mobile device when checking out different vehicles. So the dealerships aren't going to go away as people are shopping more online, but the dealerships have to be increasingly savvy on how they attract those millennial customers.
Those e-commerce managers are going to have to be more savvy about knowing where their customers are coming from. My brain tells me that millennials don't like to shop online, or people millennials don't like to go into the dealership anymore. But if the data says differently, it's something that I did not expect to see.
They say 70% of the millennials will actually text a dealership, set up the meeting.
All right.
Whereas like only 40% of people older.
All right. I think in the end it's going to be the same as far as selling the cars. It's just going to be how you get people and how you communicate. All right,
Zhenya, you had a story.
I do have a story, and this story comes from BMW. It's the Spartanburg, South Carolina assembly plant is celebrating its 3 millionth vehicle, and they're also celebrating that they are that BMW's largest automotive exporter in America.
Yeah, BMW have been touting this in all their latest meetings, that the fact that they are now the largest luxury manufacturer in the United States. They're making cars out of Spartanburg and exporting them everywhere. This is a business model that I think everybody else tried to think about where it would be cheap to make cars. Mexico is not working out as well as some people expected. The quality seems to be an issue. Canada is kind of oversaturated with production. South Africa didn't work for Mercedes as well as I think they'd hoped. So it looks like U.S. is the new auto manufacturer. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's coming up. I mean, you see a lot of cars, obviously, made in the States from foreign automakers now. There was another manufacturer that was doing a walkthrough through the same area where BMW is.
And so deciding whether or not they're going to do production. Yeah, I mean, the Southeast seems to be the hotbed. Tennessee, of Mississippi, there's places where Canton, Ohio for Honda and those sort of places.
And if you look at the Port of Portland, you see a lot of Cadillacs heading the other way off the docks, out to Asia.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I'd like to see a lot more production, although I think we're going to start to see Chinese manufactured vehicles as big as well. Even though the Chinese are trying to let's say copy a lot of American cars, they're not doing as well a good a job as they could do, and they're still buying those American cars, but they want them manufactured locally. Oli, did you have a story?
Yeah, there was a story I saw that was interesting. That Volvo released a new reflective spray, and this is to prevent or to increase visibility of cyclists. And they hired a place to design it, and it's being manufactured kind of early stages now. But what it does is it increases visibility at night. You kind of spray it on. It's a water-based, non-toxic spray, and increases the visibility at night of a biker when lights hit it to about 500 feet instead of light closed being only 200 feet. So just makes them...
It's only a matter of moments until someone sprays their naked body and runs down the street.
I was going to say, this is a perfect test market for the naked bike ride.
That's right.
Here in Portland.
Ooh.
Anything to take us off the riders.
Wait, maybe we get to spray them too. No, all right. This is Test Miles. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. Thanks for listening to the show. Next week, a report on how New York went. We'll update you on some of those new models. Thanks to Jeff Zerschmied and to John Vincent. Also to Brian Socia from Certified Automotive Repair. And the whole team will be on social media. Test Miles at Twitter, Facebook, and all the other social media outlets. We'll see you next week.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with testmiles.com.